I'm Kate Ward, and this is your Dickman Farms Smart Gardening Tip. And right now, all I'm doing is thinking about dessert. Yeah, that's right. I'm standing in my backyard thinking about dessert and how I can share my ideas with you about what you should be doing at the garden center. And you know what that is? It is going out and getting some apples. That's right. And the reason is this is the time of year, and sometimes it's rainy, that the apples come ripe. And grapes, oh man, Concord grapes, grape pie, grape jam, applesauce, apple pie, apple crisp, apple crumble, apples in your salad, apples in your yogurt, apples in granola. I mean, oh, geez, but there's nothing cooler than going out into the backyard and picking your own. So here's an example of an apple tree that's been in here for a while. And we planted it probably about, well, maybe 8 years ago now. We planted it in a spot that gets lots of sun, as you can see, and there's no other trees too close to it. But as it turns out, we planted it in a damp area. So it doesn't have standing water, but it definitely decided it did not want to be straight. So it leaned over, changed its growth, and is doing just fine. Now, I would recommend you pick a place that has a little bit better, apparently stronger soil, so it doesn't go off to the side. But aside from that, we didn't try and straighten it. It looks a little weird, but it's just fine. And this is one of the newer varieties. So this is about as high as it's gonna top out. You'll see that it doesn't have a ton of leaves right now. It's been a really kind of gross year. This is a Liberty apple, and without any spraying, so no spraying for this particular tree. We had some Japanese beetle damage and a little bit of spots and blots. And also, while the apples are good, they're gonna have these funny shapes. So they're not perfect like you'd see at the grocery store, but they taste great and they're perfectly edible. So they look a little funny, but they're just wonderful. Now, the other cool thing about apples these days is if I show you over here in the distance, there's our other apple trees. Now that's a wonderful, that I believe is a Northern Spy apple there, older variety, but as you can tell, that's a spruce tree. That's an apple that is 30 feet tall. All the apples are over there because we don't have time to do orchard pruning like you see at the orchards when you go picking this time of year. They're low and easy to get to. So how do we solve that for homeowners? We sell dwarf trees at the garden center so you don't have to have them. Now, that big. Now, I mentioned earlier, we just put one tree here. Apples need more than one tree, but this is close enough, these two guys, that my pollinator, which is the honeybee and other native bees, can fly from here when it's in flower, and then they fly over there in flower, and that's another gigantor apple. And that's enough to pollinate my apples, and I can have this by itself. So keep in mind, you have to have room for two if you don't have two. That said, you can kind of get an idea. This from here to here is probably a full width of about 18 to 20 feet, but it's only just about as tall at its tallest point, and if it was standing up, it'd probably be a little straighter. So that's a wonderful thing that as you're thinking about it, go out and grab them. So yes, there's the wonderful experience of picking apples when you go to the apple orchards, but if you only need one or two, go grab them in your own backyard, and then you too can go out and think about dessert on a rainy day and also end up looking like a koala with a whole bunch of apples in your pocket. And this has been your Dickman Farms Smart Gardening Tip.